What keeps you awake at night?
Sea levels are rising globally.
Fears fueled by horror stories.
Among the worst flu season in a decade, and it hasn't peaked yet.
We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous.
Another series of deadly terror attacks.
I don't want to be blamed if you cannot get to sleep tonight.
It's been a week for me. It's been a week. Failed the fuck out of my midterm, which is fine, I guess. But I think my highlight of my week is there's a lot of people in physics where I think, and I've described this to other people in physics who agree with me, so I feel like I'm not being shitty saying it, or I hope I'm not. I feel like a lot of the normal people go into like bio or chemistry, and then it kind of trickles down, and then everybody that ends up in physics has trouble communicating with others.
Oh, no.
Now, a lot of people are going to tell me that that's unfair. Anybody who is in the physics department is going to go, yeah, that sounds about correct. The example I can give is there's this one girl in my class. For the sake of privacy, let's call her Agatha.
Jesus.
And last quarter, she was in my introductory quantum mechanics course with my favorite teacher in the world, who each successive day that I saw him, he looked like he was an inch closer to death.
Oh my
Because he would stay in his lab until 3 a.m, then nap briefly and show up for the class at 9 a.m. So his beard gradually got more homeless, and the bags under his eyes were like duffel bags. And he was just so tired.
Boy.
And she would argue with him about quantum mechanics as if, like, an 18-year-old that just started physics understands quantum mechanics more than a man that hasn't truly slept in 15
and has
years.
a degree. Okay.
Has a PhD in theoretical physics and been studying plasma physics for...
Yeah.
The audacity of freshmen in college is outrageous to me.
Seriously. That's...
This is my best advice to you. If you're starting college, shut up.
Yeah. No,
Listen
100%.
to your professor, take your notes, and shut the fuck up.
Be happy.
You don't, like, I think it's this idea of, like, when you were in high school, you were really smart, and everybody wanted to hear... First of all, nobody wanted to hear
nobody
what you
cares.
had to say. But, sure. And then they just think, like, oh, this is a lecture. This is a good opportunity for me to share how I feel. And I'm like, listen, pal. It's 9 a.m. In college time, that means it's 3 a.m. I would like to be asleep. I was a burrito until 8:30, so leave me alone.
You know what's so funny?
Right?
This is where I think it matters, and that what's going off of Brooke's point is in high school, people would spout just absolute bullshit, and you hated it. You hated it, but you're like, you know what? Like, I'm not paying for
can't
these
leave.
classes. I can't leave. I'm legally obligated to be here. It's bullshit, but I can tune it out. In my communication between the sexes class, right? Someone decided to utter the absolute bullshit for a class that I'm paying for. I paid $140 for the textbook that we have not used once during that class period.
Ain't that just the way?
And someone
that's just
in
the way.
my academic class fully went through the filter, whatever fucking filter that they had in their brain, right? And said this in an academic college course, the phrase post-nut clarity.
You're joking.
No.
You are making this up.
Swear to God.
No.
Swear to God. And I had to physically take my glasses off and just sit. Post-nut clarity. Now, this was a man who, it was a boy who was no older than 18, couldn't be, wearing a white hoodie and Supreme shoes that were pumped to the nines.
Okay.
And so I have one of those.
Right. Back to the actual story.
Sorry.
And no, I understand. We all have feelings about this.
It's a sore issue.
And so the first quarter, she would argue with him so vehemently and repeatedly say that quantum mechanics doesn't make sense, which is fucking correct. Literally, people who spend their entire life, the running phrase in the physics department is "shut up and calculate." The experiments don't make sense, but they are the way that they are. Radically accept it and move forward. Right. And one day he was so tired, and she argued with him so much, he literally just went, "What is wrong with you?"
Oh my God.
Because it was so much. And like, that sounds harsh, but everyone in the room just nodded their head because we're like, yep, that's how we feel. And so this same girl, like, we got our exam grades back, and 40% of the class got over a 90%, which stung because I did not get a 90%. And I'm certain she didn't do well as well. How do I know this? Well, this is unacceptable behavior that happened in front of me. She came in with a brown paper bag over her head with eye holes cut out, and the teacher looked at her, a teacher who has done research and works at CERN, and is like a contributor to particle physics, looks at this 18-year-old girl and goes, "What are you wearing?" And she goes, "I just hate the human race, and I don't want anybody to look at me right now." And he just busts out laughing, nearly in tears, because it's the most insane shit he's ever seen in all of his years of teaching.
How could you not? That's insane.
So, Agatha is something else. Agatha's truly something else.
Speaking about
Agatha
hating the human race, do we want to talk about the documentary that we watched?
Right.
For this episode?
Good segue, Brie.
Thank you.
Right. We're going to talk about the Fyre Festival. Ooh.
Before we do that, we should probably explain some of the recent Twitter activity.
Oh, yes.
Or maybe lack of Twitter activity.
Yeah, we had some cryptic tweets, if you will, and everybody was a little worried about it. It's been a really rough week. Well, year for me. It's February? My year didn't start out great, just with my physical health. That lasted like a month. Like, I was having, like, cramps so bad, I literally was sweating and developed a fever and vomited a lot, which is great. So the first month of the year, not my favorite. And on top of that, like, my knees are currently blown out, which is fine, and my ankles hurt. And I almost had some vitamin deficiencies, and I'm stressed. It's been a really rough week in particular, especially with failing that exam. And I initiated it all. I wondered if I would have the ability to continue to do the podcast, because just the stress at school and wanting this podcast to be so great. It's my passion project. I love it. And I didn't want anything that was happening with me to start affecting the podcast. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, which I will concede.
You?
Never.
Me. I know. Wild. But, I didn't want what I had going on in my head start affecting the quality of the podcast. So it was kind of iffy if I was going to keep doing it, because I felt like taking it off of my plate would at least be some kind of time relief, and it wasn't. It didn't help that my medication has changed up. They added an SSRI, which for anyone who's taken an SSRI, enough said.
Yeah.
So it's just been a really awful week, and it hurts to move my legs, and I'm tired and want to vomit all the time. And just, I've been very depressed and at the biggest low. I've lost a lot of weight. It's not been great for me. So I'm working on it. I'm going to a lot of doctors. Hassan's father, who is an orthopedic surgeon, was not happy with my PCP's response that I'm using my legs too much. So I'm gonna have to go to physical therapy for that, because I'm struggling to walk to school, which is fine.
Not ideal,
I guess.
Nope.
But I do want to do the podcast, and I want it to be really good, and I want I don't want any of my negative energy to be portrayed in that, which I worried that it was because I was very stressed. So essentially the plan of attack right now is we're going to be finishing up our serial killer series, which was going to be very fun, going out with a bang for a little bit. And then we're going to take like a month off, which is just good for me at least, but I think all of us, we are all...
Everybody is kind of in this place right now where, like, midterms ended, but they never really end, do they? No. And, like, we tried to do Campfire Horror Stories. I know that we pimped that a little bit on Twitter, and it never ended up happening, which was disappointing but necessary because we just didn't have the time. And so I think what this month is going to do is give us the chance to both relax and also get ahead of the game a little bit. We're not going to disappear. I'm going to keep making those little Instagram videos for, and also Twitter, I guess. The social media videos, the little mini bits. So you guys can see those, reminisce on moments gone by, and we'll keep answering tweets and whatever. We still would appreciate reviews and all that. And we will be back. I think is the main thing. Once the month is over.
What I would like to say, I guess, real quick, is all of us love doing this. We've gotten a response that is, I guess, small in the terms of the podcast world. But, like, the fact that we've gotten any response at all, or made content that's made at least one single person, like... feel
at the point when we became somebody's new favorite podcast, I like cried.
Straight up. Every time somebody like does a review and they're like, I've like run out of episodes to listen to, like my heart like fucking explodes.
Right. It's amazing.
And I think that I more than anything on this world want to make the best podcast possible for you guys. And because I love this and I want something that I'm working on to be good. And I think all of us are perfectionists in a way. But that being said, I think that in order to make this podcast as amazing and incredible as I want it to be, sometimes we got to take mental health breaks for just us, for our sanity, and also for you guys. And, you know, I think that it's important. And
I think we didn't know that, like, when we started this, that people take, like, season breaks. We were just like, let's do this forever, every single week. Never stopping. And then I looked at other podcasts and I was like, hey, guys, nobody does this.
Well, also, too, we talked about this... we talked about this when we first started. Like, when we first started, it is like, I say it at the end of every one of my episodes, it is so cathartic to get out information that really bums us out. And I love that we can share it with people and connect, but like I don't want to minimize the toll that researching can take sometimes.
Yeah, especially your last one. Like,
God. That one really fucked me up for my own personal reasons that I have with stuff like that. Just like in general though, like it's like I think I vastly underestimated how constantly being involved in dark topics can have a toll.
Right, sure.
Like, the reason why we started doing mini-sodes is after the tobacco episode, I said in no uncertain terms, I can't do this every 3 weeks. Yeah. Like, too much. And so I think it's fine to take a little bit of a break, because I think if you're already in a bad spot, focusing on negatives is worse.
Not great, yeah. This will be good for everybody, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's good for our audience as well. So season 2, I guess, of the podcast will start a month after our serial killer series ends. And it's going to be better content, more social media, more fun things. And we also want a lot of input for you guys. So, you know, we're just trying to be real. We're humans just like you. We're trying our best. And we love
People really take breaks?
What? What's a break?
Literally, I've been in school for, like, my entire fucking life. I haven't not taken a summer class in
I love
years.
when people post vacation videos and you're like...
Like, what?
And someone
vacation?
Someone asked me the other day, they were like, you need a break, you need to go on vacation. Because it was 5 a.m. and I was pouring their coffee for them.
Did you laugh?
And I went...
Did you laugh maniacally into their face?
And I went, well, maybe when I have the time and the money to, I'll be able to when I'm 45. But, maybe a nice trip to Vegas.
Hey, speaking of affluence and vacations, the Fyre Festival.
Better segue.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm so excited to talk about this. So preface, we're doing our episode based off of the Netflix documentary.
Yes, we haven't seen the Hulu one yet.
What is the exact title?
I am aware
of the
there's a Hulu
We're not
one.
fucking anything up. Hold on, let me look.
What?
The exact title?
She wants to say the actual title of the documentary, so we're not being...
Fyre.
Is it just called Fyre?
It's just Fyre.
Fyre, the greatest party that never
Fyre.
happened.
Brie, you watched it.
No, I know,
Yeah,
but
the greatest party that
it's
never
called
happened.
Fyre, the greatest party that never happened. It's that documentary.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a tagline.
It was insane, and honestly, I feel like we have done ourselves a massive service in making our first series about groupthink because of how empathetic I can be to stupid behavior. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we can get into it, but the number of times that people said, they just seemed so confident.
Yeah. So let's get into the timeline.
Yes.
Who's going to go over it? This is just just as a non-record, like, cut this out. One person just kind of summarize, and then we'll discuss the bullet points as we go.
Right.
Who wants to be?
Who watched it the most recently? Because I watched it last night.
I watched it last night.
I've watched it twice, but not recently.
I can probably do it, but people can interject if I forget something. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Fyre Festival happened, what was it, like 2 years ago? Like,
it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. I only tangentially knew about it because of the great breakdown that happened. And if you don't know what it is, where were you? But basically, it was this giant music festival that was supposed to happen on an island in the Bahamas where I think 5,000 to 6,000 people were supposed to just stay there and party for a weekend.
Yes.
It was very Coachella-esque.
Also, yeah, Coachella-esque, and just to clarify, like, when they say, like, stay on the Bahamas, they mean, like, villas.
Yes.
And, like,
so,
room, like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, basically, the way that this documentary is framed is it talks about what Fyre Media was first. Fyre Media, which I didn't know this before. I didn't know that there was a brand behind it. Their whole thing was they wanted to become like the Uber of booking talent. So the idea, which I think honestly was a really good idea, was to have this app where people can book big name musicians for their concerts or festivals or birthday parties, whatever. And you could just do it right there. You could get in contact with these people's agents and then set up a price and whatever. Cool idea.
Right.
And I think it was going pretty well. The guy who was the CEO of this company also invented magnesis, which I had never heard of before.
Because we're poor.
Right? I guess it was this credit card that was heavier than other credit cards.
Which is so important.
It's so important. It made a heavy clanging sound when you set it down.
That's how you know.
And it was like,
how big
It was supposed to be some kind of like rewards
was.
thing.
Yes.
You know?
It was like an exclusive club where you had this credit card, you paid a membership fee, and then you got to do all this cool stuff. I guess. I'm poor, so
can't relate.
Can't relate at all. But he developed this company that apparently did pretty well on paper. Shrug. And so from there he built Fyre Media, and then he wanted to promote this company that he was building by having a giant music festival, and that is what Fyre Festival was.
We should
I guess. It was
originated
mention his name. What was his name? Billy
McFarlane.
Billy McFarlane.
Piece of shit, but we'll get into it.
Garbage.
God.
I cannot wait to psychoanalyze this motherfucker.
He is something else. So Billy McFarlane was the mind behind Fyre Media, and he paired with Ja Rule, which I can't.
Who is that? Can someone tell me who Ja Rule is?
He's a rapper.
A rapper?
Is he?
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Well, I guess he was.
I've never heard any of his songs.
Me neither. Well, I mean, I feel like you would recognize them if I played them for you.
Got it.
But like,
Doubt it.
Didn't go. I didn't go out of my way to listen to any Ja. But yeah, so he paired with.
I'm sorry. Never do. Don't. I don't.
How dare you?
No, you're right. I'm a fool. So anyway, these two paired together and decided to build this music festival. I love this. The timeline of... I'm not going to get into how the documentary does its thing. If you want to see it, it's very good. But the general timeline of this festival was they shot a promotional video. And they had, I think, like...
Haley Baldwin.
Right, like 10 of the top supermodels ever in this video. And they caught, beautiful landscapes of the island and... shots of the ocean with this beautiful crystalline water and like shots
as Cody Ko would say, blue ass
water.
The bluest water you've ever fucking seen.
It's so blue. It is so goddamn blue. So yeah, you've got shots of the blue ass water, the boats, the women, pigs, I guess, were important, and they got this amazing video that. It summed up what this was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a party with beautiful people, beautiful landscape, and great music. The only problem is they were selling a product that they didn't have. They had this island that they were not purchasing the land, even though Billy McFarland claimed he was. There was already an owner of the island, and the only restriction that this guy put on them using the island was do not say anything about this being Pablo Escobar's island, which it had been in the past.
Right.
The first piece of promotional material that they put out for Fyre Festival said, this was once Pablo Escobar's island.
First mistake.
And so the owner of the island kicked them off 40 days before they were supposed to open.
Yes.
At this point, they had already sold out all of their tickets, and the packages that they sold included private homes, like houses on the beach that didn't exist. And then another one was private villas that essentially were tents, but like high-end tents, the kind you see at Coachella with like, they're basically one-bedroom homes, but with cloth walls.
Like the cabana style,
right, exactly.
like chaise lounges and everything
beautiful.
Like that.
Right.
So that kind of thing, and they sold hundreds of these, and they had also promised social media influencers free housing if they made one post about Fyre Festival. So they had promised all these people
Stupid.
free housing.
I'm going to touch on the fact that they paid, was it Kendall or Kylie Jenner?
It was Kendall Jenner. Yeah. They paid her like $1 million or something.
It was like $150,000 for one post.
For a single
that's what it was.
Instagram post. And I get it. She's huge, right? I completely understand why that money was being paid to her. But that amount of money...
That's... Brie, do you know how much money it costs to get Kylie Jenner to post?
It's insane.
It's literally $500,000 for one Instagram post.
Even real?
Yeah.
That's a thing people do.
Well, if you're surprised, it gets worse.
It sure does. So they paid all these people, essentially, to make these posts, and it trended. It went wild. I think they said that they sold out in the first 48 hours.
Which is insane for any brand new music festival.
Well, it's crazy. It's unheard of to sell out, period. We can get into it, but they sold out for something that they hadn't built yet. They promised all these things. They promised like brunch on a yacht, and they didn't even have a yacht.
The yacht?
They said you'd be being carried in by private planes.
Right, yeah. It was part of the branded experience.
They said that Drake was going to come. They were going to pay $100,000 for Drake to come perform. Blink 182 was supposed to have a spot at the festival.
Right. The thing with Drake was really funny because that was never even published on the site.
Nope.
That was something they told their investors to try and get them to pay.
To get more money.
Right. Like but
Drake had never even been called or booked.
They were never even going to do that. They just said, oh yeah, we booked Drake for $100,000. And they were like, wow, that's impressive. But the thing with Blink 182, like they booked all these medium names. Sorry, Blink. And
Yo, Blink, I just want to make an apology to you. You are in no terms medium. Take your pants off is one of the most amazing intros to any song I've ever heard in my life.
You're right. What a fool I was.
The episode where we praise Blink-182 for 5 minutes.
What's your favorite part of Things That Keep Me Up at Night? I liked when they talked about Blink-182 for a long time.
Or when they talked about airports.
Oh, God. Classic.
Hey, who was right on that fucking debate? Thank you very much.
Anyway.
So yeah, they promised all these names, and apparently they vastly overpaid for their talent.
Migos, I think. Was Migos
Yes. Migos was
Yeah. And the other part of that was that they didn't have, like, a setup for these bands to play on. They set up a stage. They didn't have a lighting package for them. They didn't have sufficient audio for them. They just set up a stage, basically.
Now, I also want to say, because I went to, as I've said, like, an art school, and my boyfriend... he was in production and design, and I knew a lot of people in production and design, so I know, like, a fair amount about, like, lighting design and production and stuff. They talk about it in the movie, like, they have an audio designer talking about how much effort is put into a concert, but like think about the videos you see of Coachella that people insist on putting on their Instagram stories, no matter how many times people tell them that they just skip it because the quality is horrible. You see all of the lights going around and different colors and color timing with the songs.
It takes so much more.
It takes months alone to set up audio cues because you have people that are programming in the audio cues. Usually you have the musicians consulting because they want it in time with their music. Some musicians will say straight up, I want this specific thing on stage or I'm not recording. Like I've choreographed this into my routine. You better have this lighting system. Like that alone, I think they took like a week to set up the stage. Right?
Like it took that. Well, they didn't start building until a month before.
Yeah, and it alone, like, just solely based on the audio design and production, I'm sure Coachella spends months consulting with their performers.
Well, and this is what you gotta, this is what we also have to understand, too, is VidCon, the video convention, takes 1 year of planning. Right?
No, conventions and festivals are insane to plan.
Absolutely.
So,
especially with one location that you're sure of, but your location
and I want to go ahead, Brie.
Well, I was going to say the Met Gala itself, events like that, literally have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people working nonstop around the clock for a year to plan one fucking night. So
and this is
supposed to be what, like a 3-day weekend?
Yeah, it was a 3-day weekend.
Like that?
Going into this, it was a 3-day weekend of the most prestigious people, along with the most intense, exclusive, fancy packaging you could possibly imagine, and they only had maybe a couple months to plan it.
Yeah, maybe a couple months until everything changed.
Right. I want to stress this actually. So I mentioned earlier that like they were on Pablo Escobar's island, and like. They were planning for this. Them losing that island is the best thing that happened to them in the entire run of this disaster. Because they mentioned that while they were still planning for the island, they had brought on this guy to plan all of the infrastructure. And he had said, I don't think we can fit this many people on the island, period. But we certainly can't have them sleep here. He said that he and his wife stayed for a night in a tent on that island, and it was a nightmare. So he had planned to put everybody on a cruise ship at the end of the night, and then cart them back to the island for the next day, which would have given everyone a place to sleep, at least. And without his knowledge, they had scrapped that idea. And when he went to Billy McFarland and said, look, this isn't going to work. You can't do this. It's not safe. He fired him.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you brought that up because they for whatever fucking reason, They recorded all of this in a documentary style, thinking it was going to go off so well they'd be able to, like, sell the documentary. So, like, Netflix has access to all of these, like, behind-the-scenes bits. And I clearly remember that scene where they're looking at a map of the island, and he tells them, like, on camera, hey, this isn't going to work. Like, we've tried the tents. It isn't going to work. We can do this instead. And Billy says something to the effect of, like, no, we're doing it anyway. We've already planned it.
Yeah.
And you see his face falls, and, like, you're on camera. There's a little bit of pressure there, but you see he's, like, visibly confused. Like, oh,
because like, there's no other way to do it.
The take of the manipulation, the narcissism from Billy, when he just goes, oh no, there's no cruise ships. And then it's silent.
Yeah, it was wild. He's like, he's explaining it to the camera about, like, okay, so this is where the cruise ships are going to be, blah, blah, blah. And the other guy, Grant, from off camera goes, oh, we're not doing the cruise ships anymore. And he just freezes. Yeah. And he's like, what? And then they have this, like, moment where it's almost a confrontation, but they can't actually have the conversation he wants to have.
Yeah, because it's on camera.
Right, it's wild.
Which is almost like, in a way, I feel like towards the end, the cameras were almost utilized to prevent the conflict because people feel compelled to behave well on camera. Right. Like, if this was off camera, he would have been like,
imagine.
Dude, you can't fucking do this. But he's like, this is going to be a documentary. I have a brand. Like, this is my logistics team. I can't look bad. Okay, I guess we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, so they lose the island eventually, which was a godsend in disguise for these people because at least the mainland where they were pushed to had plumbing, right?
Yes.
Which was a biggie. So they're pushed to this island. They have a month now to prepare and build everything. They're using local Bahamians to build all of it. They had upwards of 200 workers, I think, at one point working on it all the time. Like, day non-stop. And night. Never slept.
Yeah.
Barely took naps and time to eat.
Which is kind of like modern slave.
Nope. Don't even say it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, did they get paid?
No.
We'll talk about that later, but I'm not wrong. Yeah,
no, you're not, especially in this case.
Yeah.
So they have very little time to finish it. As time is running shorter and shorter, more people are coming to Billy and saying, look, this isn't gonna work. Here's why. And he's like, nope, it's fine. We'll do it. It's fine. And, like, it wasn't even it'll work and here's why. It was always an attitude of, no, we're gonna find a solution. You're going to find a solution. I'll be over here.
What is Grant's saying, like, every single time Grant was supposed to be the media
was neurotic.
And logistics. Yeah, Grant was insane. But I think his words were, we are a solution-oriented company.
Yes. Yeah, we're not problems-focused, we're solution-oriented. Fuck off, buddy.
Yeah,
I hate that.
Yeah. Which is and you can see it in the video, too. If you see him behave, people will talk, and he'll interrupt them and have them re-say it in front of the camera because he wants the brand to look a specific way.
That was crazy.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is sociopathy.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
I love this song.
Our entire brand is that song.
Basically. So we'll fast forward a little bit because there are a lot of logistics, and I think that some of these things will be in our what keeps us up at night.
Right.
But eventually people showed up. All of the workers' pleas to cancel they fell on deaf ears. Lo and behold, the night before, there was a massive thunderstorm. And it drenched this is a good detail, the private villas, which were actually leftover hurricane tents.
Love that.
It was beautiful, but they drenched these tents and therefore the mattresses that were inside of them.
Which also, my favorite, they weren't even completed beds. They put mattresses on steel frames with no pillows or blankets.
Yep, just mattresses. No sheets even. It was amazing.
And I don't understand, like, it gets very cold in the Bahamas at night.
Especially with no air conditioning or heat.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that we're paying an absurd amount of money For
Yes.
Well, yeah, and that I think is the other thing, is they had paid thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's literally like an intro package was $2,500.
And then on top of that, in order, as a scam basically to get more money, the guests were encouraged to load these
wristbands.
Yeah, they were wristbands with money that they could just scan, and that would be their, quote, wallet for the weekend.
And it was literally like people put like $10,000 in it.
I know they said that the first batch of kids that loaded them collectively put $800,000 on those wristbands, which is insane. Who are these people?
To paint the picture, because like as much as I obviously watched the documentary, the picture of them arriving is so insane. So if we may, it's these people that have been told, like, you're going to have a private jet take you to this private island. Nobody knew that they had changed islands.
Right.
They didn't, tell anyone.
Yep.
And so they show up at the airport, and it's a regular Boeing, and they're like, okay, I mean, we're getting there, but not what I paid for.
Also, let me just note, these were purchased planes. They were purchased by Fyre. So they were, in fact, Fyre Festival's planes. But they were falling apart. There's a scene where their social media team, which is Fuck Jerry, by the way, which is just the worst thing I've ever heard. If you don't know who Fuck Jerry is, read up on it, because I don't even want to get into it. I will yell. So their social media team takes a plane to get there a few days before the festival, and the window fell off. The frame around the window. They're just like, yeah, if you're getting tired of your windows, just take them off. And they pull off the window frame.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the kind of style these Instagram influencers are now arriving to this not private island.
Right. And so get on their Boeings, not what they were told, show up to the airport to be loaded into school buses, not what they were told, to be shipped to a bar, not what they were told.
My favorite
Now, this
thing.
part is actually the reason why I want to bring it up, because this is insane, because they know they have fucked up, and the place isn't set up yet.
Yep.
So they took everybody to this bar, and then paid employees to just get everybody blitzed, because at the very least, if they're drunk, they won't realize that nothing is right. People were giving interviews, and they were like, they literally were pouring alcohol down our throats, like actual footage of the Fyre employees pouring tequila.
Yeah, you see it happen.
Mouths.
It's fucking wild. And honestly, I gotta say, smartest thing they ever did.
Yeah,
because for 6 hours, they were having a great time.
6 hours, also 6 hours of drinking,
Hey man, it's fucking
right?
fire!
Then they take them from this bar where they're all drunk out of their minds on another school bus, which is not what they paid for. Mm-hmm. And I remember one person said, while they were dropping us off, the driver of the school bus said, "Oh man, is this really where you guys are staying?" Because it was just tent city and disgusting. People had been waiting out in the sun for literally 2 hours to try to get in. And this is, again, where Brooke talks about where things just kind of go nuts.
So it falls apart here. Yes. I mean, it was already bad and everything was awful.
I am shocked at how quickly humans resort to looting behavior.
I love it! So this is so funny to me. So they arrive at the campsite. Nothing is finished. The 6 hours that they had bought them nothing. And even if they had finished, they were still arriving to hurricane tents with 2 mattresses inside. Yeah. And there was a line at their headquarters, this blue house that Billy McFarland was using as a headquarters. There was a line out the door that must have been 2,000 people long. So people were unhappy. Yeah. It was generally an atmosphere of, oh my god, this is crazy, ha ha ha, what's happening? And then the sun went down. And everybody lost their minds. Because we don't have any pillows, we don't have any blankets, it's freezing, and also, I'm a spoiled 20-something-year-old whose main living is making thousands of dollars on Instagram because I review makeup, so I have no sense of personal boundaries. So people started legitimately going into other tents and looting anything that they could find. One of them, they interviewed one of the influencers that was there, and he started laughing about how he and his buddies had started slashing through the other tents and pissing on the beds.
Yeah.
And stealing anything. Yeah, why? Why?
Cute.
Because
cute. I love
you're
when
garbage.
People do things like that. Such as pissing on beds.
Yeah, why not?
No reason. I feel like if someone were to come up to him and be like, "Hey, why'd you choose to piss on the bed?" His exact response would be, "I don't know, dude."
Yeah, whatever. And like, I get it. People were angry.
Yeah, it was like, and you know, I can understand not being happy in that situation. Like, I would not. When you see Tent City, it's fucking horrible.
It's awful.
Like, the mattresses are soaking wet. But I don't think my response would be to pee on things and slash stuff.
You know,
sorry.
Somehow I agree with you. I don't know. It's just not my first instinct. I read this hilarious story. It wasn't in the documentary at all. But when this happened, there was a guy who didn't buy a ticket. He won it in a pool at work. And he said, yeah, like, everything was soaked. Nothing was ready. They didn't really have food for us, and it was awful, but, like, I've also stayed at a Motel 6 before, and I got to watch all of these spoiled brats suffer a little bit for a weekend, and it was like chicken soup to my middle-class soul. So, like, it was bad, but it wasn't like no one was gonna die, right? Like,
but this is the thing, is because one of the co-founders said that no one's gonna die.
Sure, and I don't want in any way for that to sound like I'm justifying what happened, because it was an absolute clusterfuck, and it should have never happened. But also, these influencers were just animals for no reason except, I don't like that I'm suffering a little bit, so I'm gonna make everyone else's life worse. And it's like, God, I don't feel bad for you anymore.
Right. I mean, some people I do definitely feel bad for that came, but some of the people who were such as pissing on beds and taking other people's property.
Yeah, fuck off.
You can fuck yourself.
Do you remember the guy that was being interviewed? He was like a redhead with receding hairline.
Yeah, I remember. Yes. Also, ouch.
So,
Jesus.
I mean, I don't. Sorry. He was the most level-headed person being interviewed.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, there was one dude who was, like, kind of whiny, like, it was the curly-haired dude, and then the shithead influencer. But, like, the guy with the guy who was the redhead, he was like, listen, like, I spent $10,000 on this. Right. Like, this is my vacation, which he earned the money to buy. Like, if you save up your money and that's how you want to spend it, like, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing.
Right.
Right? And he was saying the degree of unprofessionalism is just unacceptable.
Which is absolutely true.
Right? He said, these people are coming. You didn't prepare. You didn't notify us. He said, I was upset that I got absolutely no response to them. Like, he was making very valid criticisms.
For sure.
And I would say the large majority of the people that were at that festival were not him.
For sure. Yeah, exactly.
So I would be disappointed. I'd be upset and I'd want my money back, but I wouldn't be looting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a great image of humanity. Now, especially that
I'm going to say that all of us have the same reason that this keeps us up at night. And
probably.
That's the sociopathy, which is what I would like to unpack.
I have a different thing.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, it does. But really quick, we're going to just wrap up this summary, because the last thing that happened, everybody had to go home. No one had booked flights home because they assumed that would be done for them. It was not, and so they were locked into the airport overnight with no food and water until someone could get them out.
Love
really
that.
Cool and awesome. And then, I think last notes, Billy McFarland was charged with fraud, and there were a bunch of other charges as well. While he was out on bail, he engaged in yet another scam that involved selling people fake tickets to events that couldn't be bought by private vendors. So then he was, caught for that, and he's currently serving 6 years in prison.
Yes.
So that's pretty neat.
Yes.
And the important aside that I know people want to talk about is, how I made that slavery comment?
Yes.
That's because they didn't pay any of the workers.
No one got paid. And also,
no one got paid.
Worse than that, several people that worked for Fyre Media had charges racked up on their private American Express cards for upwards of $150,000 each.
Yeah, because Billy was using their cards and manipulating them into, like, paying for things they couldn't afford and promising he'd pay them back. So, like, essentially everybody got fucked over.
Yep.
Like, I feel bad for all of the workers who received no money, wasted time. There were, like, other workers who had to pay other workers. Like, there was a woman who talked about how she had...
This is the thing that keeps me up at night. I didn't expect to almost cry when I watched this documentary, but this woman employed all these people. I think they worked at a restaurant.
Yes.
You know, these people were serving alcohol, serving food, whatever, and were expected to be paid by Billy McFarland and Fyre Media, and then he bailed and never paid anyone, and this woman dipped into her own savings and paid them $60,000 of her own money that never got paid back to her.
Yes.
And she, like, gets really choked up in the documentary and is just like, I don't like talking about it because, you know, they really hurt me. And it, you know, I could have used that money, but instead I had to pay for it and nobody ever came back and, like, helped me out, even though I know I did good by these people. And it's just... he used so these people. The locals there rely on jobs like this, contracts like this, and the idea is that if Fyre Festival continued, that these people would have a steady job for the next 5 years. Instead, they got nothing and had worked for like 2 months of their lives.
Yeah.
That money they couldn't get back.
Yeah.
And it's just... It's so inherently racist.
Yeah.
And we don't really have the time to unpack all of that, because a lot of it has to do with just the psychopathy of Billy McFarland and this entire ordeal. But, like, it was just straight up racist and evil.
Yep.
And it just blows my mind that still happens, and it can still happen where people can just be like, well, whatever. These bodies aren't worth as much as ours, so they're the first on the chopping block when it comes to who gets paid. Yeah. Makes me mad.
Yep. So my thing that keeps me up at night about it, and it'll come into, like, tying together a couple loose ends in the story. I know that a lot of people criticized the employees of Fyre Festival, saying, like, how could you not know? And, like, I hope that people listen to this and, like, listen to our groupthink episode.
Yeah.
But, like, the parallels
it's crazy.
In, like, you know, like, cult leaders and Billy McFarland, like, they'd raise a concern and he'd immediately diffuse the situation and shut it down.
Oh my god,
like
the one with the yoga thing?
Oh my god, there was a yoga instructor who was working with them, and he had a lot of experience in planning festivals. Right. He sent them a formal email that said, I know that it would look like bad PR to cancel people's tickets, but worse PR is letting this happen. You should cancel the tickets or, you know, refund some people. This is a horrible situation. He said in no uncertain terms, this will fail. And they responded, the only thing they'll be seeing is your smiling face teaching yoga. And he said in the documentary he was paid half of his amount, and then half of it would be given to him after the success of Fyre Festival. Obviously, this is because they didn't have the money to pay him, so he was out of a shitload of money.
Which was,
right?
I mean, but also he got paid even somewhat, you know?
Yeah, he was paid up front a little, but like...
But, like, my thing is, like, it sounds like he was paid a lot, but he was paid a lot at the beginning of the job, which means he was living off of that money and doing no other job other than Fyre.
No, and it's not fair to
that
him
upon
at all.
the completion,
he got fucked over.
Yeah, everybody got shafted, but like,
and also, I just want to clarify it because, like, my dad does contracting work, so it sounded like a lot of money, but considering it was probably at the beginning of them working, he was living off of that money alone, and then was jobless with no money.
And I can't imagine that there wasn't a stipulation in his contract that said if you back out, you don't get to keep this. But I don't actually know that. That's entirely
I wouldn't be shocked. If he was a contractor, that's
also,
definitely how that works.
Also, the sunk cost fallacy is a thing. Like, the idea that once you've poured a certain amount of time into something that you have to see it through. Like, I know it's really easy from the outside to say, whatever, fuck that, I would have taken my 50% and bailed. No, you wouldn't. Because you had worked so hard already, and you were like, well, gotta do this now. Like, that's a thing in psychology, that that's how it works.
Right.
It's also the sunk cost doesn't only apply to money, it applies to time.
Yeah,
I think all
energy.
of them are like, I've spent 45 straight days on 5 hours of sleep a night. I want to be paid for this time.
Yeah.
Right?
Even though you
Which
know
is a cult thing.
that you're not gonna be. Yeah.
Right? So that was one dude, that was an example. The other one is like, you've seen the dick sucking about one of the dudes who was a professional party planner, and Billy McFarland had the audacity to call this man and say, you're the gay man on our team. I need you to go suck the dick of the imports department to make sure we get that Evian water. And the fact that this professional adult man agreed to this just indicates to me how much of a hold.
To clarify, he didn't do it. He didn't do it.
He didn't.
Because the head of customs was like, no, just pay me.
Right. Which is such a but people are like, that's insane. It's like do you understand how much manipulation and time spent manipulating someone must have gone into to get somebody to agree to that?
Yeah.
That's and so the part that fucks me, so I wanted to say that as a qualifier is I think all of these people were just crazy gaslighted and manipulated. Every concern that they had was shut down and made them feel like they were not a team player or they were not a good employee. The Evian dick-sucking guy, I'm sorry, I forget his name, he said that after every single meeting for the 3 weeks leading up to it, he would leave the room and cry.
Yeah.
Because he was so stressed out. And all of them were manipulated by an operational sociopath. Period.
Yeah,
right?
That's just it.
And the worst fucking part that I remember Philip DeFranco talked about this, and this blew my mind, was now I said some of the people that were working as contractors, which is so shady because it means you're going to get paid some amount and only after the completion you'll get paid the full amount, which means essentially you will be working for free until you get that final amount.
Yeah.
Right? Other people were supposed to be paid regularly. I don't think they were because they have like $100,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Now, there's a recorded call that somebody had recorded. And essentially what Billy McFarland says is, we're in a bad spot, so we're not going to be firing anyone. And, we're going to be working as a team, but if you elect to go, we understand.
Right, because the employees of Fyre Media were still working on that app. These people were still working for the business that this festival was supposed to be promoting, and had no idea that any of this was happening until it was over.
Right. And so what now, and this comes to law, this comes to U.S. law. What he was saying is, none of you are going to be fired, but we don't have the money to pay you. So if you would like to continue to work for free, you can stay. But if you don't want to work for free, then you have to quit. According to U.S. law, they don't have to pay you like a pension.
Yes,
they don't have to pay for any benefits if you quit. So essentially these people were working for free for about a month and a half and then told, we're not going to pay you if you continue to work here, but your only other option is to not be able to get any unemployment benefits because you quit.
Yep.
And someone says that on the phone. They explain, if you are telling us we need to quit or we're going to work for free, that means that's going to affect our ability to get unemployment and get a pension so we can live until we find a job. And he said, I don't know the legalities of unemployment.
Which is bullshit, by the way.
Which is bullshit. And so that's the part that fucks me up because obviously the fucking over of all of the workers is so fucked up and obviously comes from a place of racism and seeing them as disposable. But I think that part fucks me up because when I say the racism, I'm like, okay, they're racist. They don't care about these people. And logistically, U.S. law kind of protects them from doing that, which is so shitty. Yep. the way that they do it to the employees means that they've had to jump through so many manipulative and legal hoops to do this. Like, that is deliberate planning.
Yes.
And, like...
It's evil.
And it's horrifying. It's terrifying to me because you can't do that to people unless you've spent months, if not years of a time investment manipulating people and planning this out. That's what definitely keeps me up at night about that documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, all of it's sad, but for me, that's the worst because obviously the U.S. is going to protect their people more than anyone else, which means that he had to make a deliberate effort to utilize those laws.
Right.
Yep.
And that's just so fucked up to me. Like,
Full agree.
Yeah. Brianna?
It always sucks one last because y'all take the good ones.
Oh, sure.
No,
what kept me up at night was that they didn't get their sushi.
There was no Indian cuisine.
There was a lot of things, obviously, that were so fucked up about this. And I think the implicit racism just...
Sure.
Yeah.
Woo!
Brooke was my first choice, and then obviously just how he just fucked everyone over just without a single fucking care in the world. Not only a care, but he planned to fuck people over.
Yeah.
Completely is just horrific. And the other thing that really got me was after he was he was out on bail, right? There's videos of him in his apartment, a nice apartment, a really
penthouse
nice
suite style New York
It was a penthouse
apartment.
hotel room that he had been paying for. Yeah.
Right. And he's just...
With, really quick question, what money?
I literally do not know.
Oh, that's easy. He was getting money by running that second scam.
Right.
Yep.
But not only was he was running that second scam and did not give a fuck.
More than that,
Nope.
he was convinced that he wasn't going to jail.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is just operational sociopathy.
Right, yep.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just, he just has this big old fucking grin on his face that I just want to...
Oh, punchable.
Punch him in the
So
face.
punchable.
Yeah.
Smack the fuck out of that smile. Just fucking get it off.
Yeah.
And just shake
It's
him.
obnoxious.
Just shake him.
I hate it.
Shake him a little bit. I would love in the future for us to either do a series on sociopaths, not in a like a vilifying the mentally ill kind of way, but there's a book called this. Have you heard the Psychopath Test? Have you heard it?
I have not.
It is a nonfiction story analyzing how many people in successful industries are psychopaths, and they've actually found that the most successful people are somewhere on the sociopath spectrum, because in order to succeed in business, you need to have a disregard for other people's feelings.
Holy shit.
And this is obviously in an escalation where it didn't work out for him, but they talk about Steve Jobs was definitely up there.
Hey Jeff Bezos. Hey Jeff.
Yeah, 100%.
Real quick. Lick the hairs of my asshole.
I mean, but I think it'd be so rad to either have a mini heavy hitter or a series and talk about how frequently behavior this occurs.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was unsuccessful.
Right.
He was playing Little Icarus here, but that's what fucks me up is this behavior is so normal in business.
It's
think
valued.
about how often Steve Jobs didn't give a shit about slave labor or the suicide nets that they put in the factories in China, just constantly oh, well, I guess if the Tesla operational floors, Hassan told me this the other day, when they were constructing the solar panel facilities, when you're working in the desert and there's you're working with reflective devices, they have a warning flag system, and if you hit black flag, you are required to go inside because you can get 3rd-degree burns from working on the solar panels. And Tesla got in trouble and was sued because they would go one flag below. So essentially, if other facilities were at black flag, which means you are legally required to go inside or you're going to get burned, they were at I think red or yellow, which said heed caution. And normal behavior, right? Like it's just, that is normal procedure for so many companies, and the only reason we know about this is because it flopped.
Hey Elon,
like how horrifying is
Elon,
it to like
Elon Musk? Hey Elon, lick.
Like, and that's not even just the solar panels. Like, all of my friends who are in engineering know to never work for Tesla because they will work you so many hours that people are actually passing out on the factory floor.
Yep. I believe it.
Yeah. And like, not even getting into the sweatshops. Olivia yells about modern slavery for like 20 minutes. But again, like that's what's so fucked up about this documentary is we only know this happened because it failed.
Yeah. Right.
Imagine how long this festival would have gone on at this rate with this much manipulation. If it didn't fail.
It's funny because the guy, the dick-sucking guy, which I feel really bad that that's his tag now because I don't remember his name.
I'm so sorry. If he's listening to this, you have I'm so sorry.
Can you imagine if he did? But, like, he was my favorite part of the documentary, hands down. But he talked about how the only thing that kept him going at the end was that, you know, think about Woodstock. Not the ferret. But think about...
Think about him.
Just think about him. But, you know, if we think back to Woodstock, you know, people died of drug overdoses. There were mudslides. There were lines of cars that didn't move for literal days. It was a disaster, by all accounts. A disaster. But it was also Woodstock. And we don't remember it for that anymore. It's known as one of the greatest music festivals of all time. And that it fucked me up because now I'm like, what went into that we don't know about because the internet wasn't a thing?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many things exist today that are the result of directly manipulating the world around us with a complete disregard for human life, and we don't care about it because it seems fine. Anyway, that's going to be our series on modern slavery. Straight up, like, this is... Yeah,
I think that's what it's going to have to be when we come back.
Does this mean I'm going to have to return my Coachella tickets?
Are you going to Coachella?
No, fuck that. I'm not kidding.
We're too poor for that.
No. Don't be silly. Wow.
But that's definitely some human exploitation. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
And on that note,
I guess everybody's favorite part was the dick sucking. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That was pretty fun. Honestly, I think actually my favorite part is when they're interviewing a budget guy who said he gave them a budget. And it was, like, down to the T, down to the forks and spoons. And they ask, like, something, they're like, do you think it was feasible what they did? And he takes a sip of his Evian water and laughs and goes, no. Because he knew that it was bullshit and was going to fail. Like, that's his job. He was like, here's the budget. And they're like, we're not going to do that. And he went,
okay.
Well, this is no longer my job.
Bye.
The dick-sucking part is
that was my favorite.
My favorite part is the fact that you have the audacity to be like, hey man, you're gonna have to suck some dick for this water. Like,
it's insane. It's the ludicrousness of that part. It just comes so far out of left field that you can't help but laugh. And then he says that he was gonna do it, and I screamed.
Yeah, can you imagine?
I did.
Like, having to go up to one of your basically your peers, your business partners, right? And you're like, hey, you know, times are getting really tough right now for the company. I'm gonna need you to just take one for the team.
God, the phrasing.
That was his words. That was his exact too. Is I need you to take one for the team and suck. You're the gay man on our team. What?
Oh man. Oh man.
Oh,
anyway, on that note, because we're far beyond our time limit, thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing me yell about modern slavery. My modern slavery episode, no exaggeration, is just going to be full Alex Jones style yelling, which is going to be great because you can look forward to that after we have our interlude.
Yeah, we have. You've got something to look forward to for sure.
Right, and we are going to keep up with we're going to have a guest star. Hassan really does want to talk about the brainwashing of the Hitler Youth, which includes a lot of suicide.
More Nazis.
So, ooh, are you going to feel bad about the Nazis in the end?
No.
Who knows?
No.
Who knows?
I'm not.
Yeah, who knows?
I can say.
don't know.
I can say as a human being, I'm not gonna ever feel bad for Nazis.
Oh, can we edit the sound clip in when we do that mini heavy hitter, please?
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you for listening. Please leave a review on iTunes. We appreciate the reviews. We literally, like I said, we scream every time we see
amazing.
them. And we love interacting with you on social media. TTK me up on Twitter and Instagram. We respond to the tweets because it makes us feel light with joy.
Giggly.
We love you all so much. Do we have any other announcements? Next week is Brie's heavy hitter on her serial killer. Some light news.
Although, and we need to stop doing this. By the time you're hearing this, it will not be next week.
Oh, tomorrow you will be here. Wait, no. Yes?
Yes?
No.
Yes.
No.
I'm an English major.
The week after this is posted and you're hearing it, on the Friday after the thing where it's posted, you'll be hearing about it.
So the original comment that Olivia made was correct.
You're right. I'm just a moron.
Oh my god.
I think the thing we were doing last time was we were saying, next time we're having this mini-sode, and that's not true.
Right.
Yeah, because it's the next day.
Right.
Oh wait, no. Okay, so is it the mini-sode? I'm so confused.
No. Next week is you. Next week is you, baby.
Oh, yeah,
next
don't
week is
worry
your
about
serial
it.
killer.
Right,
the week after that is the Nazis.
Oh, man.
Right.
And are you gonna feel bad for Nazis?
No.
Who's to say?
Okay.
Who's to say?
No.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
It's been real.
Please don't email us about Nazis. Bye. We hate them.
What's up, friends? Seamus here, and I host the podcast Chewed Gum. Every episode of Chewed Gum, we look at specific films, television, and anything else entertainment or art. We critique it, we give it our best opinions, and some random information that you might have never known. So tune in on your favorite podcast player today, or visit dramacityproductions.com/chewedgum and find out what I think about some of the most popular and unpopular entertainment out there. Thanks for listening. And now back to your regular scheduled programming. Who's actually listening to you idiots? Grum.